Hey, it's Noelle Bloom here, and welcome to Bloom TV. You're in the right place if you want to create a business that makes a difference and live a fabulous life. I've got a question for you today. Are you living someone else's life vision and not your own? Do you lack clarity when it comes to what you want to be, do, have, and experience in this lifetime? If so, you are going to love today's episode because that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about how you can create your unique definition of success in business and life. And I'm going to sit down and talk with a very special guest about this very topic. And her name is Manjit Khalsa. She is an author, speaker, educator, and change agent, plus a certified access consciousness facilitator with a global reach. And she uses a unique process to spark dynamic transformation and lasting change with her clients and her audience. So Manjit and I have joined forces today to talk about what we are super passionate about, which is all about creating your vision for your future. And I'd love for you to join us in this conversation as we talk about how you can create a crystal clear vision for your business and life. So let's dive in. Manjit, thank you so much for joining me today on Bloom TV.
Thank you so much for having me on Bloom TV. How did I get so lucky?
So the last time we talked, we had an in-depth conversation about what you call shopping for your future and also how to actually create a vision for our lives. And the reason why I'm so excited about this topic is because I see many people out there living a life that is out of alignment with the life they want to be living. And people's definition of success should be very personal. And I think when it comes to creating businesses and lives that we truly, truly love, it all starts with a vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think more importantly, this conversation about how to actually create that vision so you can reverse engineer goals is going to be our topic today. And I'm so excited to talk to you because when we get together, we have two futuristic energies. I mean, we both get so excited about the future, making plans and strategies, and really holding this vision for our lives with a lot of ambition. And I think many people are going to get value out of this conversation because we're both futuristic people and you have so much to share. So thank you again for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I wonder what possibilities we can create. And yeah, like what you just said was when you are somebody who can actually visualize, perceive the future, you're always playing a bigger game. You're always actually shooting for like so much more than you currently have. And that is the space that really excites me and motivates me to get going. Because I don't know about you, do you have mornings where you're like, I just don't want to? Like, you just don't want to get out of bed. And as an entrepreneur, we really do have like that structure of being able to create our lives in any way.
Yeah.
So for me, when I first started, I would be like, well, I'm just going to go down the beach. Like I'll do that tomorrow. As though I had like all of this time to do. I wasn't really quite focused on what I was creating until I got the bigger picture of like, what am I actually here to create in this lifetime?
Yeah.
And that was the conversation that began to inspire me to, one, like take the courses that I wanted to take, to actually start creating the projects I wanted to create. And what I call like those worthy activities, like they may not seem fun, like when you like break them into micro steps. But when you look at them as an overall picture of what you're going to create in this lifetime or over the next 10 years, you can actually see the logic and the purpose of actually creating that space and doing those things so you don't get bogged down. So that's one way I created like actually doing all the boring jobs as well as just the fun. I'm just going to chase all these really light wins and I'm just going to go and chase this sparkly thing over here. So that was me in a nutshell. Chasing the sparkles, chasing the butterflies, and really not creating anything that was substantial and fulfilling.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many things that you said that I totally resonate with. And I would love to ask you to kind of take it back a little bit. So how did you first start your business and what kind of inspired you to go off and do your own thing?
Oh man, I was thinking about this yesterday, and you know how we talk about the future. So for
Yeah.
me, the future gives us little nuggets all the way throughout your life. So, how long is a piece of string? So you said, when did I actually leap? So I leapt from my job. I was a teacher, high school teacher for 15 years, and I worked in education in so many different areas. And one of my biggest inspirations in this life is watching light bulbs go off in people and watching the transformation and watching somebody create something they never knew was possible, like a moment before they've had a question or a conversation with you. So that's what I loved about teaching and education,
Yeah.
was watching kids coming through the door and all of a sudden, and you didn't get them as much as you'd think, but
Yeah.
every so often you'd get a kid who's just like lit up with one possibility, or a few possibilities, or when they get into med school and they can see their life as a doctor or a nurse, or a
Yeah.
psychologist, or an artist or a vet, and that would inspire me. So the business was sort of like a natural progression from that, because what I didn't like about the job was all the bits and pieces of being in a structure. So I took a risk about 18 months ago to say, right, if I take a leap and just continue doing what I've always done, which is to facilitate change and
Yeah.
catalyze change, like what could I create on my own? So I took the leap. And
Yeah.
like I said earlier, I spent about 6 months to 8 months, like literally chasing the fairies and chasing the butterflies and not really actually creating anything.
Yeah.
Until I realized actually there's a bigger picture here. I'm actually here to do something greater with my time, with my life,
Yeah.
and aligned, like you said, and congruent with who I am. So that took quite a bit of time.
Yeah. And I think it takes a lot of time for many people. And that's one of the things that people don't talk about, how much time we actually spend when we actually take that leap and we're, committed to creating the business and growing the business. There's like that little buffer period that in between that time, we're kind of like staggering a little bit, chasing, but like you said, chasing butterflies. There's this thing called the shiny object syndrome, in which, anything that walks past us, we just, we're kind of looking at it and then we just go chase it, right? And I think that there is that period in our businesses, especially when we're just starting, to where, like we just talked about previously, we're just feeling stretched, right? Because there's so many things we want to do. Oh, this person's offering this, or, I've got to offer this. And even for me, I just spent a lot of time figuring out, what do I want and what do I want my life to look like? And I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but there's always that point to where we have to figure out what we want. And that sometimes takes a long time. Again, I think I spent like 8 to 9 months, possibly 10 months, almost a year, trying to figure out who I am, what are my values, what do I want my lifestyle to look like, how do I see myself working in the world to make a difference. And that can take a long time depending on who you are. So I think starting off by letting ourselves or giving ourselves permission to create that space in our lives and businesses to figure things out when we're not clear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. It's so important. And that's actually some of the work I do, is to have people become really clear on
Yeah.
their priorities. And we don't do priorities like make a list of the things you have to get done, but these are like the things that light your soul up.
Yeah.
These are the things that actually have you say, my life is worth living if I have this in my world. So one of the questions I ask myself is, what's going to make my life worth living?
Ooh, I love that.
Rather than just like the day-to-day stuff, like even that, like what does my day look like if my life was worth living?
I love that question.
Yeah, and
And
it literally was a game changer for me, because it stops me looking around going, well, that's what that person's doing over there, because getting business envy or trying to use the world as a construct to see you can work out where you fit in, rather than looking at it, well, what's going to make my life worth living? And what if fitting in wasn't even a priority for you?
yeah,
Because a lot of us are not the same as anybody else.
yeah,
And it's not about being fitting out. It's actually just about showing up as the you that's lit up with your life is actually really inspiring.
I love that. And I mean, I get so excited when I talk to you. And something that I was thinking about as you were talking is that, there are going to be people in our lives that inspire us, right? But we have to be very, very careful to not get attached to someone else's definition of success, because it's too easy. It is way too easy to not listen to your inner voice, your gut, and to get real with what you want. And many times, um, we might think we want something until we get real with ourselves and say, maybe I don't want a business, location independent business. Maybe I don't want to travel and just kind of be a digital nomad. Maybe I do want to be in one space, in the same space, not moving around. Maybe I want to work more one-on-one with people and not scale my business, So I think that to a certain extent, we can be inspired by other people, but we don't have to get attached to other people's definition of success. And like I mentioned before, success is a very personal journey. And I think the sooner you figure out what that looks like for you very vividly, the easier it's going to be to create those results. So I just love the idea of just being very conscious that another woman or man can have their definition of success, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be yours, right? It's so relieving to know that all of our definitions of success does not look the same. Now, we are all more alike than we are different, but those little subtle differences are the things that we should be paying attention to.
Yeah, and it makes the world a lot more colorful. There's so many more flavors of us.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, just when you were saying, like, I was somebody who definitely did get lost in, like, because I was so easily inspired by everybody and everything that I was trying to do 10 gazillion versions of my business until I started to become clear, like, what does light me up? So do you mind if I share some of my priorities? So when your listeners are listening, I set my priorities really different. I'm definitely a sensory, kinesthetic, more of an intuitive person. So again, I kept trying to go to these workshops where they're making you list things, and I just did not feel like I was connected to that. Anybody ever done that, where you've like written these targets down and you've got this amazing plan, but you're not connected to it? It doesn't speak to you in a way that moves you to actually taking actions. So that was one of the places I wasn't taking actions, because I wasn't congruent or lit up or connected to what I was creating. So then I actually created energetic priorities. So a sensory priority, which is so different to having like verbal priorities. And I have got words for them. So one of them, which sounds crazy, the word magic.
Yeah.
That to me is that energy of movement, of spaces opening up that weren't possible before. So that's one of my targets. Another one is living with elegance. And elegance to me is doing things in a way that are efficient and easier. Like, that's the definition of elegance for me. Like, less time, less energy, but a lot more in return. So that's the energy of elegance for me. Another one is like, I actually have wealth, the wealth of like me as a being, living somewhere that makes me perceive wealth, having wealthy conversations, having, all of that. Another one of my priorities this year was to live a life that's inspired, like inspired by others and myself. So these are generally my priorities, which sounds crazy. But now when I look at a project, or I look at having a conversation or working with a client, whether it's one-on-one or a group, I can say, if I actually choose to go down this road, does it create inspiration?
Yeah.
Does it give me that sense of magic? Does it give me that sense of elegance? Oh, and I forgot one, ease. Because I was very, very committed to creating a life of hard work, being a teacher.
Yeah.
So ease was something that I really, truly wanted, but I didn't know what that was. So I added that to my priorities this year. So then I ask, like, if I choose this, like, is it going to create that space of like, and it's different to like not working hard. Sometimes, you're working hard for it, but does it still give you magic? Yeah, it still gives me that sense. Does it still inspire me? Yes. Is it going to create elegance? Yeah. To put these systems in place, you're going to have a more elegant version of your business or your life in 12 months. So I'll choose that. So I don't know if that was helpful, but I just wanted to give people who are listening to this, like, how do you become aligned? How do you become congruent? And that was one thing I found that system really works for me to stop chasing the butterflies was, right, does it create this? Does it create this? Does it create
Yeah.
this? No, 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 no. Okay, it's just a sparkly light.
I love that. And it's such a fantastic way to help you make decisions. So no longer are you distracted by either, all these opportunities coming into your sphere, but you now have a very strategic way to kind of check things off. And I know we want to move away from like checklists and stuff like that, but at least mentally for me, it's easy for me to pick priorities and to think, okay, does this meet the criterion? If not, it's gone. And I think when it comes to creating your future in real time and making it a reality, you have to have some type of criteria to accept opportunities and then to let them go with ease. And so I love your words. Elegance, definitely speaks to me. Ease, of course, because many times in the entrepreneurship space, we're taught that you have to work extremely hard. And I'm not knocking down, hard work. I work very, very hard. But I always like to ask myself the question, if this could be easier, what would it look like?
Yeah.
And then when you start asking that question, your creativity kicks in, and then you start letting go of old models that you've been holding on to because he said it, because she said it, because that's how you do a funnel, and I think we're just feeding ourselves so much information that we don't trust ourselves to do things more efficiently. So for me, something that I've been practicing is taking in information, seeing what works for me, and then putting my spin on it, because some models are old. I believe that, of course, blueprints and things can help us to a certain extent, but at some point you're going to have to put your magic on it, right? And make it work for you. So again, with the whole definition of success, just really knowing what works for you, taking that in and asking yourself, if this could be easy, if creating my business and lifestyle vision could be easy, what would it look like? And I love to ask those creative questions, because you can literally go from stuck to unstuck by simply asking the right questions. The right questions will give you the right answers. So
I love that. And you know what I would love even more than that? Like, so even when it's easy, I like take it one step further and go, okay, how can it get easier than this? Okay, now it just got even easier. How can it get easier than this? And opening up a question like that has your brain look for easy, and it has the universe go, oh, she wants easy. So then all of a sudden, everything starts to work in the ethers around you to bring you, great ideas. I didn't even know you could do it this way. You often find yourself having a conversation where somebody's like, oh, let me show you real quick how to do this easier.
Yeah.
That's to become in your entire world when you start to ask questions like that.
Yeah, I love that. And it just reminded me of one of my business mentors, Josh Kaufman. He talks about the 5-fold why to get down to the bottom of that deep core desire of, why do you want this in the first place? Why do you want this business? Why do you want the house? Why do you want the car? Why do you want the husband? What is a deep drive that is fueling you forward? And he says, you've got to ask why 5 times. So why do you want X, Y, and Z? Oh, because I want to do this and that. Okay, well, why do you want to do this and that? Oh, because I really want to experience X, Y, and Z. And then when you keep asking why, then you come down to, wow, I just want freedom. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's like an onion that you have to peel back, right? Yeah. So I think when it comes to creating your business and lifestyle vision, asking those smart questions will really help guide you into creating a vision that you can stand firm in, that you're going to be committed to, and then excited to create into reality.
Yeah, I love that. And it really is smart questions. And you and I are both coaches, and we facilitate change all the time. So that's one of the things when somebody comes to you and they say to you what they want is the relationship, or they want their business to work, or they want, the great body, whatever it is people are asking for, it's actually never that.
Yeah.
It's usually a sense. And that's why, like, for me being so sensory, I was like, that's why these targets and goals, the way I'm setting them, aren't working, haven't worked. And that's why it's like, okay, so what is it? 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 And for me, it literally did this year come down to actually having more money creates ease in my world.
Yeah.
It's not the money, it's the space and the ease I'm looking for. It's the elegance of living. It's the wealth of choice and choosing those classes or choosing, because my choices aren't to sit on a super yacht. I mean, I might, but what inspires me more is having these conversations. What inspires me more is waking up to a happier version of me, a greater version of me. What makes me happy is if I've launched something that actually contributes to lives.
Yeah.
So that, is money going to contribute to that? Yes.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
never about the money. It's
Yeah,
about
and I agree too. It's never about the money. What money does, at least for me, is it gives me options, right? And the more options I've noticed for me, the more options I have and the more freedom I have to move freely, whether it's making decisions, whether it's working with that person or launching this program or not, it just makes it easy for me to pick the things that I'm most excited about. And something that I really wanted to get into with you is that we talked about visualization and do you actually visualize, or how do you use visualization for one? And if so, how do you use it in your business or in your life in general?
Visualization for me was like really having an image. So I will talk about that a little because I actually trained as a teacher to have my kids visualize things, to learn huge concepts like, how the heart works and the rock cycle. And so I really get the power of perceiving it. But for me, I'm such an energetic person. When I get caught up in the image of what it looks like. So when you visualize, it's like, okay, it's a 9-bedroom home. It's got this entrance. I found myself getting stuck on that happening and the attachment to that. So now I literally sense things. So I'm more of a sensory person. So I don't know if that's visualizing in your terms, but for me, that's like literally going, what will it be like?
Yeah.
What will it be like? And literally get myself to that space. Oh, like there's like, there's excitement running through my body. There's more space. There's like, and it's less wordy and no image, but I get a total sense. And I really work with my body. My body gives me lots of senses and it gives me lots of awarenesses of what it's like. Like when you walk past a rose, for example, you get the sense of what that is, right?
Yeah.
Instantly for me, I'm in like beauty. I'm in like elegance. I'm in like a completely different space. And it just reminds me to stop and smell and all of that. So for me, it's like that energy of what is that space.
Oh, I love it. So what you're saying, so it sounds like you're saying that you don't get too, so back up. So visualization would be the using your imagination in imagery and images to sort of see a moment in time and to kind of see it, feel it, kind of experience it. So for you, you're saying that for, thinking about images or like what it particularly looked like, what it looks like, you've kind of moved beyond that and sort of think about the experience of what it feels like and kind of what type of energetic pull it might have to you, like how you said beauty and just spacious and things like that. So am I explaining it accurately?
Yeah, completely. And what I wanted to say about imagination, like what is imagination? It comes from your thoughts. It comes from your brain. And it usually comes from something you've already experienced. But when you step into a future, you're actually stepping into something you can't imagine. So one of the questions I always ask is like, what goes beyond my imagination that I never even considered?
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Because your brain can only show you what you already know, but there is so much more. Like the universe has infinite possibilities. So I usually surrender to that sense and go, right, that is my version of beauty, but universe, show me what goes beyond my imagination right now.
I love
Take
that.
me to that space because there's more and I don't know. And hence, like since starting my business, it really does. It has worked out far greater than I could even imagine. Like you showed up in my world in a way far greater than I could have personally imagined or visualized.
Yeah.
It was just a request, like who can I contribute to today?
Yeah.
You popped up. Okay, if I speak to this person, I go back to those questions. Is it going to create elegance? Is it going to be magical? Is it going to inspire me? But your whole like conversation in the chat was, you're here to inspire.
Yeah.
Boom, that's a complete match. But you see how that wasn't a visualization, it was a
Right.
request of the universe and a demand of myself to make sure I notice those spaces when they pop up.
Yeah. I love that. And I feel like when you know what experience you want, again, when you see it, you know it's for you, and then you're
Yeah.
able to go out there and get it. And I think many people do not know what they want. Really, sometimes I ask people, "What do you want?" They'll say some things, but they're not very confident. And I think when we can get very, very clear in what we want, it makes it easier to get it. And I cannot stress that enough, that you need that clarity. And some people say, you know what, I don't really know what I want. And what I advise people to do is I say, you know what, you've been on this earth long enough to know from your experience what you don't want. So you can always use that as a barometer to say, you know what, here's what I don't want to experience. Here's what I've experienced before and I'm done with. And then that can shed some light on what you do want. But most of the time in my experience, when I've worked with people, is that deep down they know, but it's hard for them to, one, maybe articulate, but two, accept that that is what they want. And many people are looking for that validation to want what they want. And I've learned that you won't get it from, I mean, I can give it to them on a call, but it's just like, I can't give anybody permission to want what they want. It's all internal. So, you know, if you're watching this and you feel like, I'm not sure what I want, or I'm just unclear, I think that you have a really good idea of what that may be. You have to sit with it, realize it, and tell yourself it's okay to want what you want. And many of us don't do that. Do you want to speak on that, or just embracing?
I just love everything you just said again. I just love this girl. I'm like, oh my God, why are you not around the corner? But yeah, like knowing truly what you desire and what you want is like such a good space to start with. And what I want to say when you're listening, don't make yourselves wrong if you don't. Because guess what? Your best gift in this world is you can always change your mind. I think for me, that was like the reason I wouldn't say what I wanted, was because I was like, damn it, like I know by tomorrow there's going to be something better. Because this is the thing, as entrepreneurs, we're always looking to exponentialize our world, make things greater. So when we say what I want is that beautiful, delicious relationship, for example, then you're like, oh, damn it, like I actually don't want that anymore. Like when you get there, I think most people don't commit to that want or that ask, because when they get there and if they don't want it, you then go into that guilt and that blaming of yourself and making you wrong for getting it wrong. But what if, I want to invite you guys to, is you didn't get it wrong. You just chose what you wanted in that moment. You go for it. And when you get to that and you don't want it, you can make another choice.
I love that.
Another choice. Like, and you're not here to get it right. This is not about having a right, correct, perfect life. It's about having an enriched, beautiful, flavorsome experience and an adventure where you're going to change your mind, and it's totally perfectly, that's perfect. Because if you didn't, you'd be the same, like, you know? I mean, have you got friends, Noelle, that just knew, like, when they were like 16, they knew that they were going to go and be a nurse, and they knew that they were going to marry their best friend, and they knew that they were going to live around the corner from their friends. They were going to have 2 perfect children. I have people like that in my world, and they know what they want, but actually they haven't explored the enrichedness. So knowing what you don't want and knowing what you want, just know that will even change if you're willing to be in question over it.
Yeah. I love that. I love everything about you and what you say. It's just crazy. So when I think about being clear about what we want and just releasing the outcome, because I think I know for me, there has been times, at least when I graduated college, like right when I was a freshman in high school, I knew what college I was going to, and I went to that college. I knew I wanted to go to college. Even in college, I knew the first day of college what my major was going to be. And it's just like, for me in my life, I've always known, I've been that person who's been very confident in the vision and have actually accomplished it. But when I started to tread in the business realm, I was like, I know what I want to do. And then things started to change. And what I didn't realize was that there was going to be so much personal development, so much growth, mentally, emotionally, physically, stuff that I didn't even know that would happen. And from that, my vision changed. And I love the fact that you mentioned to be open-minded, right? And then I see that as just kind of having that vision, but just letting go of the outcome and being open to new possibilities. Because the moment we're so stuck on one single point, like you said, the mental image, we know how many bedrooms with, hardwood floors in 4 bedrooms, just that image can also put a cap on what it is that we can receive. So I love that you.
What else is available? What if the universe actually has something greater for you?
Yeah. I always like to say, I want that or better. So
Universe, show me the better version of this. Like, show me the greatness of what's available for me. Because it won't turn out the way you think. Like, how many examples have you got where you're like, okay, we're going here, and the universe is like, no, interrupt. No, you're not.
Yeah.
This over here, if you take one step to the left, is so much more of what you wanted.
Yeah. I love that. And when I talk to people about creating that vision, I like to tell them or ask them that question: what do you want to be? What do you want to have? What do you want to experience? Where do you want to go? And I think when it comes to creating a vision for your life, I like to know what my personal core values are. I like to have a vision for my health and wellness, mentally, emotionally, physically, even down to my relationships with my family, my partner, my community, my environment. You just moved into a new house, and we were just talking about the lighting and you making it how you want to, or your vision for it. And I think that when, again, it all comes back to the awareness of who you are and being clear on your desires. I cannot stress it enough. The clearer you are in what you want, the easier it is to create it. And sometimes I try to find a more, a simpler way to say it, but that's just it, really. So I'd love to ask people, what do you want? What type of clients do you want? What type of business do you want? What type of marketing strategy do you want to employ? How do you see yourself collaborating with people? Your core values, company culture, family, friends, and relationships. And I really want to open up the conversation to make sure people are being very thorough and kind of going through the different areas of their life so they leave nothing unchecked. And we were talking before about how, we can get so caught up in business, right? And kind of creating plans and visions for that. And then we leave out the lifestyle portion because we're so focused on business. And so you talked about how this week your business priority is like your environment and making sure that that's up to par with what makes you happy.
Yeah. To set up the space around you. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you are so business oriented, you've got all these projects to do, you've got your clients, you're so busy doing that.
Yeah.
And yet you have other things that, are you including you in your business?
Yeah. I love that.
Because I've got to say, like, I hadn't even realized, and I'm somebody who checks in a lot, so I can catch it really quickly. Last week, I did not include me in my business. I was very much on the outside, like running the business, almost like a staff member. Who was showing up to the meetings, who did the plan, who was a good little worker. But it didn't include me in the, hey, you just moved to a new city.
Yeah.
You just moved to a new apartment. Like, your business is here to support you if you will allow it. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the thing you work on. You can work with it. It can be your colleague. It can be your greatest co-creator. So I literally woke up this morning and I was like, hey, business. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I literally will talk to everything like it's got a little personality in my life. And it's like, hi, business. And my business is like, okay, no voice coming down from heaven. But if it did, it would be a very strong, deep, like, hi, beautiful. How can I support you this week? And I said, well, how can we set it up so I have a lot of time to play? And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, just schedule in 2 days of work and then give yourself 3 days to go get your nails done, could go down to the opera house, go watch a movie. And all of a sudden my entire body relaxed.
Yeah.
So you can co-collaborate with your business to have it so it works for you. But again, we've talked so much, like, what is it that works for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it could be a bit of trial or error,
Oh, I love that you said trial and error, because there were some things that I thought would work for me. And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. So there was a point. So I'll give you an example. There was a point in my business where I actually just wanted to be home in a home office and just be kind of cut off from the world. And for a little bit, that felt good. It was part of the vision to have an office space, to have a very inspiring place to do work. And then, half a year later, I'm like, you know what? This isn't working anymore. I need to be out with other people. And I've considered, doing or going to some type of co-working space or just working in coffee shops. I did that for a year. And now I'm back at home. I just want to be home. And so I think, again, don't be too attached to it, but really listen to what you want. And it all goes back to saying that, what you want can change, and that's okay. And that takes the pressure off of us to be right.
So great that you say that. I have a lot of friends in the coaching facilitating community, and I'll watch like their Facebook feeds. And I think this is like something maybe everybody's guilty of doing. And you'll watch how they set up their business, and they're flying first class, and now they're teaching this workshop, and now they're taking this class. And I was like, wow, like that's what I want to do. So for the first few months of my business, I toured around Japan, and I taught live workshops, 5 days. It's called the foundation, like where you set up a platform for your entire life. You actually go through extrapolating all the things that you thought were you but weren't, extrapolating all the bits of you that were your parents, society. So you actually get to find out who you are, and you get tools to take away so you continue to use them. So it's not just like, I know who I am now. It's like, okay, you have one version of you right now, and there's so much more. So keep going. And I traveled around Japan teaching these classes. And after the 6 weeks, Noelle, I was exhausted. Like, I stuck myself in a retreat and laid on a massage table for literally a month. And then I thought, wow, that's what I thought I wanted. I thought I wanted to travel and facilitate classes all around the world. And yet I didn't want that. And that was like a really big aha moment, because I really thought I was going to quit my job, and that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be on a plane. I wanted to be sipping those margaritas. Like, we've all seen the images.
Right.
And yet, a lot like you, I actually love being in a community. I love being from home, whether it's a cafe or a workspace. And I like connecting with people in my local environment. And yes, I might choose to do a bit of travel, but it's so different. I'm not attached to that now as a way of living. It actually doesn't work for me.
Yes. And this brings up another important point when it comes to creating your business and life vision, is to be open to explore. You don't know what you like until you actually experience it. Jeez. And for someone like me, even when I go to restaurants, it's like I order the same plate. Like, everywhere I go, I know what I like, and that's it. I don't really like to experiment very much, because I know that if I'm here for an experience, I want that experience, and I want to know what it's gonna taste right? But even with me, I have had so many challenges where I'm learning to explore. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. I know more now, and I know what I don't like, and I know what I do like. So, if you're watching this and you feel kind of stuck and you're like, I know what I don't want, but when it comes to what I do want, I'm kind of lost. I really encourage you to test things out, whether that's your environment, whether it's different relationships you want to entertain, romantic or with your family, whether it's an offer that you want to put out. I encourage you to experiment. The more you experiment, the more you're able to narrow things down for what you want in your future.
And you will know, and without the attachment of this is it, this is the thing. Anytime you do that, I find you've just put a cap on what else is possible, what else is even greater. So be willing to explore and find out what lights you up. Find out those energies that I spoke about at the beginning. Like, what actually inspires you? What lights up your soul? What really, truly like has you go, wow, if you could fast forward to you being 80 or 90, like what's the life where you look back and think, wow, I totally created something that inspired me,
Yeah.
that
I love
changed something, for me. Like I learned this along the way, I experienced this along the way. And that's actually, Noelle, like where I start when you said, like, when did you start creating your business? At 25, I was a high school teacher, married, living in the UK. I had done the plan, like literally, I had done the plan. And I sat there and I created a journal for myself. And this is where it all started. And I wrote the journal as my 90-year-old self, relaying this story to like my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I was telling them about my life. And it was such a fun little activity for me. And I had pictures and spaces. And I was so engrossed in this story until I did it so much that I woke up one day laying next to this man going, this is not this journal. This is like nowhere near that. And I had no idea. I was petrified of how I was going to make that journal a reality. Like that, I wanted to be that 90-year-old that has that story to tell, or even greater stories. But I knew I had to make a choice and I had to take a leap. And that still took me, at that time, I wasn't as brave as I am now. It still took me 2 years to actually mourn the loss of like that whole reality that I'd created, that attachment that I had to the marriage and the children and all of that. And then I leapt and I came to Australia. It was my first place. And one of the pictures in my book, like when I drew, because I drew things, was laying under this palm tree and this mountain. And it just had come like a download. And I remember living at Palm Cove Beach, and that was the beach. Like I totally felt that palm tree, that beach, that was the space I'd visualized living or perceived myself being in. So there's also that as well. Like, I think a lot of people get scared of knowing what they want because sometimes we have to make really brave choices.
Oh,
For me, leaving that, yeah. So
yes.
leaving that marriage was a brave choice. So yeah, when I opened that truth journal for myself about that 90-year-old telling the story, it took me a while because somewhere when you talked about, you actually do know what you want and you do know what's going to work. But if you've set your life up according to everybody else's version of you and you make some leaps, there's going to be possibly, it might not be true for you, but for me, there were people who were upset. I didn't want to do that. There were situations where I actually went through probably the trenches to create what I wanted to create. I had to like have the courage, that real courage and strength of going, you're in it alone now. You don't have the support of all these people because you just let them all down for choosing you. So that can also be a space where I'm not even going to find out what I want because what I want is possibly going to upset people.
Yeah.
But let me tell you from the other side, it is worth it. Like, because everything does come right. My parents are absolutely fine now. Like, they're so inspired by me. They're inspired that I made those choices. My siblings are like, wow. My little niece, she's only 5 years old. She now has a pink suitcase and she tells everybody, she calls me Massey, which means auntie. And she's like, I'm going to be like Massey. Like, I'm going to travel. I'm going to be a businesswoman. Like, she has a little iPad. And I'm like, wow, you have no idea. Like, first it looks really scary. Yeah. But when you actually see the future from that 90-year-old's version, that 80-year-old, that 50-year-old, that 40-year-old, know that you have that strength and courage to take a peek.
Yes. And the fact that you brought up journaling, I resonate with because I've always kept a journal since I was like in grade school, and just having a pen and a blank slate to just write your thoughts and your visions and what you want. I've always journaled. It's just something that I just love to do. And I encourage people to journal. Give yourself that permission and time, whether it's 5-10 minutes. You'll be surprised on how much you can write in 10 minutes to just open up, and the journal's for you. You don't have to share it with anyone, but let that be a space where you can create a vision for what it is that you're wanting to accomplish in your business and life. And if you are not living the fabulous life, the vision, if you don't have the business or the relationship, it might be time to make some difficult choices, and that's okay. And like you mentioned, you'll turn out way better on the other side after you've made those hard decisions. There's people who are running businesses that don't resonate with them. It's someone else's version. You got people in relationships that are not serving them anymore. And if you're unhappy right now, I want you to get real with yourself and look at your life and see where's the disconnect. And when you find that disconnect, I want you to know that you can change your life like that. All you have to do is be brave and have the courage to want what you want and to do it for yourself. And I think with that, you'll empower yourself and inspire other people in your lives. And something that I think Oprah said is that if you're not disappointing people along your journey, you are most likely not doing as much as you could be doing. And it's like, now that's not to say that we want to go around disappointing our family and our friends, but just to show you that, you know what, when you start to change, your family and your friends are going to be the first sometimes to kind of not be very supportive. And that's because they love you, they care for you, and they want you to stay the way you are. And that's something that I learned, is that as you grow, you want to be very conscious of your family and friends and love them, but understand that they want you to not change and to be the person you've always been. And sometimes that's in conflict. So if you've got to make a difficult decision, I want you to figure out how you can muster up the courage to create a brighter future for yourself.
Yeah, and get the support. There's plenty of people out there who are actually desiring what you desire. There's more of us coming out who are going, hey, it's okay to be different. It's okay to want something more. It's okay to be greater. It's totally okay. And so don't go to the people who do not want you to change. Go to the people who want to see you be greater than you are today, who want to see you fly. And not to make those other people wrong or right, but just that's where they're at. And that's okay. But get the support you require, like nurture you through that. Take yourself through that nurturing journey of making it easier. You don't have to do it the hard way, the way I did it. Like I learned along the way. I was like, oh, this could have been so much easier if I didn't fight it so much, you know?
Yes. Wow. Well, this has been an extraordinary conversation.
I know.
Thank you so much. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I can go for hours because we just feed off of each other's energy. And I just want to thank you for your time and your energy, because I know you've been doing all type of workshops and business stuff. And so for you to take the time to do this with me, I'm appreciative. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so grateful. And there's no way I would have missed it. You inspire me too. Like you actually are someone who really inspires me. And I'm, so honored to be here. And I wanted to leave everybody with one question as we wrap up. And it's the question, what choice can you make today that your future self would thank you for?
I love that. Thank you so much. So for those of you watching, I would love for you to answer that question. I want you to head over to noellebloom.com and leave a comment. You can also let us know what's your single biggest insight that you're taking away from this conversation. What are some moves you're going to have to make to change your future, change the course of your future in your life, whether that's your business and a relationship, whatever it is for you? What are you going to do today to change your life? If you like this video, please subscribe and share it with your friends or your community. Thank you so much for watching. As you're out there making a difference in the world, I want you to remember to have fun, live free, and feel fabulous. I'll catch you next time on Bloom TV. Bye.
Bye.
Are you on the VIP list? If not, you're missing out. Head to noellebloom.com now and sign up to get free exclusive content to help you create a business and live fabulous.